What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have some fun stuff today to get into. If you missed it yesterday, Gran Turismo and Sony and everything caused some big waves online with a certain update for Gran Turismo Sport. We're going to talk about all of that today and why people are kind of losing their minds about it. At least they were yesterday. We'll see how they are today about it. Then we also talk about essentially a bet that was placed against Nintendo in the stocks and marketplace there. We're going to go over all of that. It also kind of explains why the stocks have been driven down over the past couple months. So we have a bit of an explanation there. First, though, let's get into some quick news. We're going to start with Spider-Man. It has gone gold, which means it's done. It's ready to be put on discs, very printed and put out there. That's exciting. I've been looking forward to this game for a while. We even had leaked gameplay get out at an event where people were playing the full game when they were supposed to be playing the demo. Those videos went up online and then were immediately ripped down by Sony, but some of us at least had a chance to take a look at it. I watched some of it, and yes, I can tell you this game is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to this game now that it's gone gold. We just have nothing to do but wait, you know? I mean, we got to wait till September 7th, and it feels like an eternity now just because the game looks great. We just got to wait for, another 5 weeks or so until we can play it, but hey, at least the game, it's coming. It's going to be a little while. Also, as a heads up for any Steam users out there, it looks like there are some counterfeit or fake items making the rounds right now. And what's happening are games are actually creating these fake items, and they have legit logos for something like Dota, for example, and an actual name. Everything looks good, but when it's traded to you, it turns out it's not the item you were looking to get, and these trade offers are going around to a lot of people right now, and some people are, well, falling for the scam, and it's tough because it looks pretty legit. A lot of threads, as you're seeing, were popping up on Reddit. For example, one was absolutely talking about a Dota 2 scam where they traded them something called a Dragon Claw hook. Very expensive item on Dota 2, by the way, and it turns out it's for a game called Climber. That game's already been removed, but it shows that this could be a strategy that some people use, people who aren't on the up and up, I guess you'd say, developers who create a game specifically to create a counterfeit item that can then be traded for, I guess, money or good items or legit items, and that seems to be an issue. So if you're on Steam, this is a heads up to double check any offers you get and make sure that item is like completely legit, like triple check the thing, because it seems like if you get it traded, it's pretty tough to get it back, as Valve is already poor with their customer service, so that would be fun to try to figure out. Also, it looks like we might be hearing about Nvidia's next line of cards, whether it's the 11 series or the 20 series. I guess they'd go 11, right? They're on 1070s, 1080s now. They'd go like 1180, 1170. I don't know if they jumped to the 2000s yet, but it looks like we might be finding out about these cards, as it looks like Nvidia is going to be doing a full event for press and everything a day before Gamescom starts, which might be where they even show off some of these samples or the cards, as it appears that, according to videocards.com, they're going to be handing out samples there to the kind of the tech industry or professionals in the industry as they possibly show off new cards, new hardware. Now, would they be showing off the budget-oriented, or would they be showing off a straight-up 1180 or something that's, like $500-600 or something? I don't know, but I am ready for Nvidia's next offerings, as we've been sitting on the 10 series for a little while now, so I think we're ready, and this seems to be the best bet for people who are looking for that next installment of Nvidia cards. It's going to be kind of expensive, so I'm looking more towards, I guess, the 1160 or even the 1170. I have a feeling, based on what we've seen, something like the 1170 might end up matching kind of 1080 performance, and 1080 performance is already pretty good now, especially if you're looking even into 4K. So we'll see what kind of prices we get out of these, hopefully at this event a day before Gamescom. And guys, with some of that quick news out of the way, let's jump into some of the bigger stuff. We're going to start with, I guess, the biggest piece of news from the day, because it had the internet going crazy, and that, of course, are that microtransactions are now a part of Gran Turismo Sport. This was added in the update 1.23. They added new cars, they added a new track, and this is a game that's been updated actually quite a bit. I've had it installed on my PS4, and occasionally I'll jump into it, play it. I really got it, to be honest, because it came with my the PlayStation VR bundle that I had bought, came with Gran Turismo Sport, and I had played older Gran Turismo games. I think I played up to like 4 or 5. I know I played it on the PS2, and then I played the first one on the PS3, which I believe was Gran Turismo 5, and then I kind of fell out of it. Gran Turismo 6, I know, came and went, but I checked this one out. Visually, it looks great. I know people were having issues because you need to be online at one point to save your game or something. It was a rocky launch, we'll say that. And we've seen sales numbers be okay. They told us earlier this month that it was around 5 million players, not necessarily 5 million sales. They just want to tell us about how many players were online playing, but that gives us a rough estimate as to probably how many did pass over that retail counter. So 5 million places it okay company, although we did see Gran Turismo 5 sell about 10 million copies, and 6 was a little lower. And now we have Gran Turismo Sport getting microtransactions, and it's not even a few, it's a lot. Essentially, you can pretty much buy into almost every car in the game. However, there are a few caveats here. You can't buy into cars that are above, I believe, 20 million credits, so you can't walk in and buy like the best cars in the game. But you do have your choice from cars that you can just kind of pick out for $1, $2, $3. I did go car shopping, as you're seeing here, and the list is pretty long. And I did notice that there are cars ranging from $1. I saw it, $1.50, $2. The most expensive one I saw was $2.99. But yeah, there's no shortage of cars to pick from here. Now, I want to also say you can earn all of these cars in-game with credits. They didn't change the in-game economy or anything. They just seem to add a kind of a shortcut. If you just want a car like now, rather than have to play the game and grind away for credits, you can just get that car with a couple dollars. And okay, but here's the issue. This is why people were really, really frustrated. They technically sold the game when it was coming out on the fact that there would be no microtransactions. In fact, in several interviews, on publications such as IGN and several other places, it was quoted several times, no microtransactions, no microtransactions, and there was even several clips of video. Here's one here.
What about the microtransaction? Will there be? Thank God. Okay.
Yeah, that's right, no microtransactions. So you can kind of see why people are a little frustrated, almost a bait and switch, if you will. Sure, it's been 8 months and the game's been out for a while now, but it was technically sold with the idea of no microtransactions. And yeah, I get why there's frustration there. And I kind of look at this as updates when they are bad, I guess, for games for being updated. We just saw a great example as to why updates are great for games, right? With No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky Next changed several people's perceptions on No Man's Sky when it came out. It was a free update for PlayStation users, PC users, of course with the Xbox version. It just came with it, obviously. But that changed it for the better, whereas we see this game with the Gran Turismo Sport changing it and completely going back against what they said when the game was launching or releasing. And I have to wonder, because that is a massive 180, isn't it, from what we bought the game thinking to now? And I have to wonder if it really is something to do with money or sales or funding these updates that keep coming out. Something caused them to backtrack heavily on what they said wouldn't be in the game when it came out. And that's odd, because it comes 8 months after launch when maybe you would be kind of hurting for money and you would need a way to fund this further. I guess just snapping your fingers like Thanos and adding, instead of taking away, adding, tons and tons of DLC overnight with microtransactions. That's the way to do it. But I am absolutely curious what you guys have to say about this one, because this was massive online yesterday. There are people actually on either side of it, and I'm curious if you're okay with the microtransactions being added, since they don't technically, I guess, affect the game for most people who have been playing it naturally anyway, because they probably have enough credits either way to buy, any of the new cars added or anything. But I could see how some people would feel slighted about this, and I'm curious what you think about this whole situation. Next up, let's talk about Playground Games, because they are adding quite a bit of talent for this unannounced RPG, this action RPG that we heard a while ago about. I think almost last year we heard about them developing. We know Playground Games, obviously, because they do the Forza Horizon series and they're very good at it. They're very good at open world development, by the way. So a lot of us were curious about this new project. Some of us believe that it's Fable, and I don't think that's really too crazy to think about that, as that's an IP that has, some recognition in the Xbox or even just the gaming community in general, and Playground Games could do some cool stuff, and I want to see what they could do with something other than a racing game, right? Why not? Let's see what they can do. But they've been adding talent. There were a whole bunch of new hires from some pretty reputable game development companies. GameIndustry.biz reported that several different developers from places like BioWare, Rocksteady Games, Ninja Theory, Guerrilla Games, even EA Motive, which worked on like Battlefront 2, for example, everyone's kind of just joining in and getting signed up for this project that's happening in the background right now. You got people like Scotty Brown from EA Motive, who worked on, as we saw before, Battlefront 2. Martin Lancaster, who joins from Rocksteady Studios, who worked on the Batman games, Arkham Knight, for example. Chris Goodall comes over from Ninja Theory. Not super surprising there, as obviously Microsoft bought Ninja Theory, so they're part of them now. One thing that's kind of interesting as someone for the QA team, Rob Den Decker, actually was part of Lionhead Studios. Remember Lionhead, where they did testing for Fable and Fable 2? And then they pulled back lead UI artist Joe McKernan, who actually was at Playground Games 4 years ago, and he left, worked on Horizon Zero Dawn at Guerrilla Games, and then also on Destiny 2 at Bungie. So what they're working on here sounds like they're gathering massive talent for a quality AAA game. And honestly, I'm curious if it is Fable, because if it is Fable and they're recruiting this kind of talent for that game, we haven't seen it yet. This could be the best Fable game that they've ever made, but as far as we know right now, it's an unnamed action RPG open world style game. So with the level of talent they're bringing in, I'm sure the budget that Microsoft's willing to put behind it for development and then of course marketing, this could be a big time launch game maybe for the next Xbox system. It makes sense. The timetables line up. 3 to 4 years of development, as they've been working on this for a little while now. This could be their big launch game that they release with. And honestly, I think right now Microsoft understands this generation's kind of done for them. And I think they're kind of looking into next generation right now already, just for their next Xbox. And I think their game development studios, all the ones they picked up, I think they're all already working on next generation titles. And I think this one is going to be one of their big centerpieces. Then our last bit of news, let's talk about the one thing I know obviously a ton about. Let's talk about stocks. No, I'm not the best when it comes to stocks, obviously. I don't really get into all of that. But it is fairly interesting, or it has been over the past couple months, because of Nintendo's odd stock, I guess, behavior, where it's been dropping a lot. People are trying to figure out why. Now, I have been checking here and there, and it does appear to kind of be going back up. But it seems like Bloomberg kind of looked into it and at least found one of the reasons why it was dropping so much, and it was kind of an interesting reason. What it seems to come down to is Gabriel Plotkin, who's the head of New York hedge fund, Melvin Capital Management, has accumulated a $400 million short bet against the Japanese game maker. And these are according to regulatory filings. And a lot of people were trying to figure out what that means, because obviously a lot of us gamers aren't really into stocks or anything. And there were a lot of people trying to explain it in layman's terms as best as they could. Some people on Twitter were explaining it. And then I also found what I think is a pretty good explanation as to what is happening here, saying basically you're selling shares you don't have and hoping that the price goes down. How do you sell shares you don't have? By borrowing them from someone else. They'll want the same number of shares back, of course, so you wait till the price goes down and buy them some cheap replacement shares, and boom, you've made money. Now, other people have said that you technically have to pay to essentially keep these stocks kind of hostage almost, and the idea here is they believe that Nintendo shares are going to continue going down to an acceptable level, rather than buy those, give those back to the person, and then they have a profit from the difference. So, yeah, it looks like people believe that Nintendo shares are going to continue falling. But it'd be interesting if they don't. That's why this is considered a bet. And I'm sure there are people who are into stocks who can even talk about it a little more down in the comment section. I'm curious about that. But it seems like, from what I'm seeing, this person is making a bet essentially against Nintendo, saying your stocks are going to keep falling, so I'm going to do this now, because if they keep falling and I can get them very low, then I will make a decent profit on all of these shares that I have essentially that I'm holding hostage. What's interesting is apparently Plotkin would not explain why they believe the stocks are going to fall. It's just apparently, I guess, a guess, but to bet that much money against a company like Nintendo, it's almost like you would know something, right? You would know a reason why the stocks were going to fall, or you'd make money on them. To put up, they're saying $400 million against them, that seems almost crazy, but I don't know. I mean, we're going to find out numbers today, or they've probably already been out and people are already talking about them. So that's something that could drop stocks, is if your numbers come out and they're not the best. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what kind of numbers they put out. It's almost like they're betting that Nintendo won't be able to get their 20 million console amount out there that they've kind of predicted, but that's very far away. And from what people are saying, you don't do this with stocks for very long because the amount you have to pay to keep them would defeat the purpose of the amount of money you would make. So this would be more for, as people are saying, a shorter turnaround, but something like numbers coming out today being poor or below expectations, well, that would be a good reason to hold on to these because you could probably make money then if the stocks fall that much. And that's where I'm going to leave Newswave today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike it. If not, let me know what you think about everything we talked about today. Gran Turismo getting those microtransactions that I'm sure people are super happy about. The Nintendo stocks acting up, and then maybe we found a reason there. I'm sure some people who are really in the stock market can kind of explain this pretty well. There's a link to the Bloomberg article down in the description. We'll check all of that out. Let me know, guys. I'm going to have probably a video up later on today about Nintendo's numbers and stuff that they report, and we'll look through all of that. Should be a good time, and I'll see you guys in the next video.